So, you know how when people stay in relationships for a really long time, including narcissistic relationships, we're like, whoa, wow, how amazing. They've been together such a long time. Good for them for sticking it through. Let's take that on. Because one thing we often do is we martyr the people who put up with lifelong narcissistic relationships. Let's talk a little bit about what that really means. So welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism. So let's talk about this, right? So there are people out there who put up with these narcissistic relationships for a lifetime. And we will often want to martyr them, but I think all we really need to do is empathize with them. So let's talk about this, because we love lifers. We love people who say they've been married for 65 years, or they're showing up at their gazillionth annual family reunion, or have some family tradition that they engage in faithfully every single year. And we're like, ooh, that person's so solid. Listen, if a person's been married for 65 happy years, or that family reunion is joyful and respectful, or those traditions are happy and good, then I love that for you. I really do. I'm actually a little bit jealous of that too. And great, wonderful, and healthy. But we think long-term anything is virtuous. We'll say things like, ooh, she stuck it out no matter how hard it got, or he was always by their side. And listen, with younger folks, this is the generation that's taking on this idea of long-term jobs in a different way. But there's always been this sort of apocryphal 40 years in the gold watch, staying in a toxic go-nowhere job, but good for you. The fact is, good for you young folks who aren't doing that anymore and being more flexible. But we really do still look at the people who stick stuff out, family relationships, marriages, work things, as somehow good. But it's not good if it's not healthy. And this martyring or glorifying the sticking out of a bad situation is something that can really get people stuck. It contributes to the confusing messages that people get about what to do when they are in unhealthy relationships. There's so much guilt and confusion and self-blame that people do not know what to do. And then when you throw into the mix that the idea of how virtuous someone was, look how virtuous they are because they made the best out of a bad situation, well, you can definitely see how this could leave a person who's sort of teetering in a toxic relationship to say, well, I'm a good person, and maybe good people just stick out bad situations. Now, sadly, the societal messages that people get from religion, culture, intergenerational messages is basically to put up and shut up. It's almost in our sort of relational DNA. And even now, in 2023, I am still struck by the number of folks out there that will chide and criticize people for divorce, even when it happened under the worst of circumstances, or that will shame people who may become estranged from impossible family situations, or who may quit jobs before they have new ones because their job that they were in was so twisted. This all or nothing mindset, and on top of that, the overvaluing the folks of people who stay in something, is not good for any of us. And before you yammer on to me about the effects of divorce on kids, I gotta tell you, for a kid, watching parents in a contentious marriage may mess up a kid even more. It's really about picking your poison at that point. But we get so focused on these relationship ultra-marathoners that we forget to give people the most important tools of all, which are discernment and gatekeeping. To learn from the very beginning that it's okay to step back when things feel uncomfortable and what uncomfortable actually is, and that rationalizing abuse just because it's family can mean lifelong cycles that hold you back. We don't teach people that, but we do cram you full of old tales about how great someone was because they were married for 200 years or were loyal to some dysfunctional family business. And here is where it gets interesting, and really what propelled me to make this video. I have had the opportunity to talk with these martyred, long-term, ultra-marathoner, narcissistic relationship people, and most of them aren't happy about it. Many will acknowledge the cultural pressures or financial pressures or even the safety ones that kept them stuck. And in some cases, it was medical issues or healthcare costs. They didn't stay out of love or devotion or anything like that. It was pure survival. And for some of them, they took some real hits in the hope that maybe they could make it better for a future generation. But a lot of these long-term survivors that we want to martyr aren't walking around saying, hey, look how virtuous I am. I am saint, stick it out. No, they don't. Their healing and survival may have come from trying to contextualize what they were experiencing. Most survivors of narcissistic abuse, though, are living in a broken world. Family courts that don't work, expensive housing markets, stupidly expensive healthcare, culturally antiquated notions about family and relationships, and a lack of support. And they have to make decisions to keep themselves alive or safe, or other people alive or safe. People who often stayed in these relationships for a long time, they didn't want it to be that way. And they were very clear that it's their hope that in future generations, that people will have the freedom to go and leave when things get unhealthy. They are the living information that these situations, these narcissistic relationships, do not get better with time. The narcissistic folks may get more oppositional and more demanding, and as the long-term folks stick it out and the survivors get older, the survivors may also no longer have the physical capacity to start again. We can learn from these folks, but instead of treating them as virtuous martyrs, perhaps to simply see them as teachers. So here's where it gets interesting and really what propelled me to want to make this video. I've actually had the opportunity to talk to a lot of these sort of martyred ultramarathoners, long-term survivors of narcissistic relationship, and most of them aren't happy about it. Many will acknowledge the cultural pressures or financial pressures or even the safety ones that kept them stuck. In some cases, it was medical issues or healthcare issues. They hadn't stayed out of love or anything else. It was pure survival. And for some of them, they took some real hits in the hope that their life ultimately may make it better for a future generation. They certainly aren't walking around saying, look how virtuous I am. I stayed in this relationship. Or to say, I'm saint, stick it out. No, they didn't. Their healing and survival may have come from them trying to contextualize what they experienced. Most survivors of narcissistic abuse are living in a broken world. Family courts that don't work, expensive housing markets, stupidly expensive health care, culturally antiquated notions of marriage and family, and a lack of support. And they have to make decisions to keep themselves alive or safe, or other people alive or safe. They didn't want it to be that way. And these folks I talked to were very clear that it's their hope that in future generations, the next generation will have the freedom, people will have the freedom to go and leave relationships when things get unhealthy, to be able to set boundaries. These people are the living information that narcissistic relationships don't get better with time. The narcissistic folks tend to get more oppositional and demanding. And as those long-term stick-it-out folks, those survivors get older, they may also no longer have the physical capacity to start again. We can learn from these folks. And instead of treating people who stay in unhealthy relationships as virtuous martyrs, we can see them as teachers. Listen, as someone who has personally benefited from the sacrifices of many prior generations, some of whom have experienced narcissistic abuse, I see the lifelong sadness that has come to people who had stayed. And I never, ever underestimate the freedoms that their lives ultimately gave me. They never wanted to be glorified or viewed as martyrs, but instead they took the stance that yes, us in a prior generation couldn't do things, but please don't let our lives be in vain. Go, be freer, give yourself permission to make the healthier choices. It's very easy to romanticize the idea that someone just stuck it out, and aren't they so great? Not necessarily. Instead of glorifying the stick it out, let's recognize the sacrifices that some of these folks made, the limitations that they faced. But let's not ever try to view suffering and abuse through an idealized lens. We've got to break out of these old ways of viewing things, and that Again, there's a lot to learn there, that these are people who did have to tough it out. But trust me when I tell you, they don't want to be viewed as martyrs, but they do want you to learn from the long-term toxic relationships that they had to put up with. Thanks again.